What's going on, everybody, and welcome to your new favorite music-based true crime show, Murder Music, a brand new show in which we dive into the most insane crimes dealing with your favorite musician, while also taking a look back to see past events in their lives that kind of led them to that point, that kind of made them who they were. And we're starting off this one with a doozy. This episode is full of everything you'd ever want in a true crime show. It's got murder, suicide, arson. What else could you need? So join me as we welcome in this week's guests and take a look at the black metal band Mayhem. All right, and joining us for the first episode, the co-host of my podcast, the Basement Boys Podcast, the human sports encyclopedia himself, and also my friend, Devin Mitchell.
Yo, what up? How's it going?
Same old, brother. Starting this brand new series for the people, and we're going to jump into it today. So, Devin, what do you know about the band Mayhem?
Not much. I know they're a band. They're from their name Mayhem, and they're from Norway.
Yes,
Scandinavia, somewhere up there.
Yes, Norway.
Okay.
Okay, so that's more than 99% of the people I've ever met know about Mayhem, besides me.
I'm in the 99th percentile. Yay!
But yeah, so this is a crazy story. Let's jump on into it.
Word up.
Mayhem formed in Norway in 1984 as the brainchild of Øystein Euronymous Arseth, bassist Bjorn Necrobutcher Stuberud, and original drummer Kjetil Mannheim. Using session vocalists Erik Messiah Norheim and Sven Erik Maniac Christensen, the band would record their first demo, Pure Fucking Armageddon, the latter also appearing on the group's first EP, Death Crush, in 1987.
Yo, wait. Is the drummer like the only one without like a crazy ass nickname?
He just kind of went by Mannheim.
Even though that was like his last name?
Yeah, I didn't see any specific reason for why or anything like that, but yeah, he just went by Mannheim. That was like his stage name. Yeah. So I didn't feel like doing Mannheim.
Right. You know, it's kind of funny, like, you must be the odd man out if, oh, look at you just go by your last name, oh, blah, 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 blah.
Part of me, like, also feels like he's, like, the adult of the group and being like, yeah, I don't need a name like Necro Butcher. Like, we play music, my guy. We're not, like, fucking Power Ranger supervillains. Like,
Power of Necro Butcher, go!
These two releases garnered the band a dedicated cult following. After a few short-lived replacements, Mannheim and the session vocalist were replaced with Jan Axel Hellhammer Blomberg and the now infamous vocalist Yngve Dead Olin. From this point on, I'm pretty much just going to be using their stage names because it's going to be a whole lot easier for me to say. With Dead at the helm, Mayhem's live performances became increasingly more controversial, with Dead regularly cutting himself on stage and displaying the heads of pigs and sheep impaled on pikes in front of the stage as they played.
Crazy thought. You think they just like went to random farms and were just stealing all these animals and slaughtering them? Or do you think they just went to like the local butcher shop, you know, like with Necro Butcher being a butcher, and we're like, hey, listen, you guys got me like, let me get a whole pig. And then Butcher's like, here you go. And then they're like, thanks.
I wouldn't put either way past them, honestly. I mean, I feel like the butcher way would be easier, but we're going to get into some stuff about these guys, and you'll find out that I would not put stealing a pig past them. Olin would also go to great lengths to live up to his Dead moniker, allegedly going to the extremes such as burying his stage clothes for weeks at a time, only digging them up to wear for his live performances, allegedly carrying a bird in his pocket to give off the scent of death, while others allege he kept that bird in a jar, not in his pocket, as to be able to smell death whenever he pleased. He was also widely regarded as the first person to use the corpse paint that has become a staple of the black metal community. Dead's eventual replacement had this to say about him. He didn't see himself as human. He saw himself as a creature from another world. He said he had many visions that his blood had frozen in his veins, that he was dead, that there was a reason he took that name. He knew he would die.
I'm sorry. I could get behind, burying your clothes so that it like reeks and all that shit, and on top of that, hey, hopefully you drew a map and you remember where you put it. But like, that's taking a whole new level, is carrying around a dead bird.
Again, it wasn't confirmed 100% that he would
Right.
carry it around, but at least, for the very least, from everything I've read, is that he definitely at least had it in a jar or something.
Right.
Once we get into it more, I'll talk more about like maybe medically what could happen with him, but he's a strange character, and he wants to be dead, basically.
I mean, if you're picking the name Dead, like, guess you gotta follow it up.
Because even like with this corpse paint stuff, it's like now it's kind of like more stylized, but the way he originally did it, he did it just white and black around his eyes just so he looked literally like a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
Like that had been sitting there for a few days, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? In 1990, Mayhem moved into an old secluded house near Oslo, Norway, and began to write songs for their debut album. Being around each other all the time reportedly started to cause tension within the band, specifically between Dead and Euronymous. Dead allegedly stabbed Euronymous on one occasion. On April 8th, 1991, Yngve, Dead, Olin committed suicide in the house near Oslo. He was found with lacerations on both wrists and neck, and a shotgun wound to the head. A note was also found alongside his body. Loosely translated to English, it reads as follows: "Excuse all the blood, but I have slit my wrist and neck. It was the intention that I would die in the woods, so that it would take a few days before I was possibly found. I belong in the woods, and have always done so. No one will understand the reason for this anyway. To give some semblance of an explanation, I am not human. This is just a dream, and I will soon awake. It was too cold, and the blood was coagulating all the time. Plus my new knife is too dull. If I don't succeed dying to the knife, I will blow all the shit out of my skull. Yet I do not know. I left all my lyrics by Let the Good Times Roll, plus the rest of the money. Whoever finds it gets the fucking thing. As a last salutation, may I present life eternal. Do whatever you want with the fucking thing. I didn't come up with this now, but 17 years ago."
Let the Good Times Roll. Was that the name of one of their songs?
I think that was just like a record they had or something like that.
Okay.
I was trying to get a little more explanation on that, and from what I've seen, it was just like part of their record collection. Like, so I guess it was like he just left it like in the case or something like that.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, it kind of like doesn't sound like a song titled from
Yeah,
a black metal.
Yeah, it's
band.
definitely not them. I think it was, like I said, I think it was just like a place he put it so like they knew exactly where it was. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Also, like, how long do you wait? After like you slit your wrists and your neck, and then you're just like, fuck this shit. Like, all right, I waited 2 seconds for doing this. Like, put the shotgun to the head and then kablooey. Or do you think he's like sitting there like waiting? You know what? This is taking too fucking long.
Well, from what I've gathered, what happened was he went out into the woods,
Mm-hmm.
slit his wrist and neck, and he just wasn't dying.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked back to the house, grabbed his shotgun, and finished it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you said in the note, I guess part of it was just that it was so cold that like the blood would coagulate and create like almost scabs,
Mm-hmm.
preventing him from bleeding out. And so that's why he went back to the house. His body was discovered by Euronymous, who immediately left the house and went to a nearby store to purchase a disposable camera. When Euronymous arrived back at the house, he used the camera to photograph Dead's body, even going so far as to rearrange certain items to fit the aesthetic he was looking for.
It's crazy just to think that there's a time when people had to go out and buy disposable cameras.
Yeah, right? Like, I still remember doing it, too.
Right, same.
Like, I still 100% remember doing it.
And I remember going to wherever you go to get your photos developed and like waiting a day or two or whatever it may be. And it's kind of crazy to think like, oh wow, if that happened now, you could be like, done.
See, that was my first thought in all of this. Like, it's super crazy and fucked up to take pictures of someone's dead body. It's crazy, super fucked up to rearrange, like, the things they used to kill themselves in the picture to make a cooler picture, I guess.
Right.
That's crazy enough, just having, like, a camera on your cell phone where you could just do it. This guy had to literally go, get in his car or whatever, drive to the store, buy a camera, do all this, have an encounter with the guy, like, at the counter, drive home, and then do it. He had all this time to think about it, and he was still like, nah, this is a great idea.
And don't forget, you had to bring it back.
Yeah, and then he has to go get them developed. I think, if I remember from what I read, I think someone else actually got them developed.
Okay. That's where he drew the line, was getting them developed.
I just think he was smart enough to not do it himself. And probably the person he gave it to either didn't know or, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Right.
He would later use Dead's death as publicity for the band, starting rumors that Dead had killed himself because black metal was getting too mainstream. It was speculated that he cooked and ate bits of Dead's brain, which members of the band have denied. Also, that he collected fragments of Dead's skull, which he then made into necklaces and gave to musicians he deemed worthy, which Euronymous himself has claimed was true.
You think he told these musicians was like, yo, this is Dead Skull. You're worthy of wearing this shit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
Like, people have come out that they have them. Especially in, like, the old black metal scene. Like, to say that you were the one that got a Dead necklace was, like, bigger than Death Row Records chain.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like, it was, like that's how you knew really cold, dude.
You're a part of the cool crowd.
Yeah. One of the photos Euronymous took of Dead's body would eventually be used as the cover art for the infamous bootleg live album, Dawn of the Blackhearts, released in 1995. And the thing about that is, like, it's not, like, I've seen the actual picture. Like, I only put just the Dawn of the Blackhearts part because, like, I'm not gonna, like, push that out.
Right.
But it's, like, there is no, like, even attempt to try to, like, cover it up or make it, like, tastefully hardcore. Like, no, it's just, here's his fucking brain on the floor.
Right.
Like, it's fucking crazy. Here's how Necrobutcher describes how Euronymous told him about Dead's death. Oystein called me up the next day and says, Deadis does something really cool. He killed himself. I thought, have you lost it? What do you mean cool? He says, relax. I have photos of everything. I was in shock and grief. He was just thinking about how to exploit it. So I told him, okay, don't even fucking call me before you destroy those pictures. Necrobutcher left the band as a result of Euronymous' actions. A decision that would spell the beginning of the end for Euronymous. But more on that later. Yeah, could you, like, imagine if someone called you and said, hey man, our friend killed himself, and you're just like, oh, it's fucking terrible. And then your friend goes, no, don't worry, I got pictures of everything though, it's crazy.
Yo, just to, like, ability to be like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like, I got, like you said, you know, he had the photos, he messed with the corpse and everything, and was, like, rearranging it, and from what, you know, in this short little clip that I'm watching, gathering, it didn't faze him.
Oh, not at all. He was like, yo, this is sick, let's get it.
Yeah, like, oh, fucking, like, my bandmate's dead, dude, like, hold on, let me go down to a bar and, like, drink my pain away.
Or maybe call the police.
Right, you know.
Not go buy a fucking camera.
Right. And I'm pretty sure he probably walked by a couple cops that day and was just like, la, 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 la. How you doing? Just kept it moving.
Like, if it wasn't for who Dead was, I would be very hard-pressed to believe that Euronymous just killed him.
Right.
But, like, his whole mental health thing was crazy.
I mean, he even said that he was planning on doing this for 17 years. I feel like if you're thinking about it for 17 years, like, you're committed, and you're like, all right.
Well, a lot of people apparently, I'm trying to remember the exact name of the disease, but it's something like, a lot of people think he had what's called, I believe it's walking cadaver syndrome.
Okay.
Where some type of like near-death experience or some like crazy type thing happens to where the person actually believes they're dead.
Oh.
And like a lot of people have said, like the blood freezing in their veins, like a lot of the things he's describing about himself and his just ideation of death go in line with that. It was never like officially diagnosed or anything, but that's a very big prevailing theory of how he got to be who he is.
Do we know of the incident that led to that?
Apparently it was something like he almost drowned as a child or something like that.
Okay.
Which would explain like the 17
years.
You know what I mean? Around this time, Euronymous opened a record shop in Oslo named Helvete, Norwegian for hell. It was from the shop that Euronymous was able to grow the black metal scene into a pseudo-cult, with members who would regularly meet at the shop being known as the Black Circle. One such member was the man behind the one-man black metal project Birdsum, Varg Vikernes, who lived at the shop at various times. Varg would go on to record bass for Mayhem's debut full-length album. Now, Varg is a known Nazi and Satanist, a norm within the black metal scene, and used the shop as the headquarters of sorts to wage his war on Christianity, carrying out a string of church burnings during this time, with Euronymous and drummer of the band Emperor, Bard Goldvig Faust Eithen, being confirmed to have participated with Varg in the arson of the Holmenkollen Chapel in Oslo. Euronymous and Varg also used the store to plan the bombing of the Nidaros Cathedral to coincide with the release of the debut album, which the cathedral appeared on the cover.
So the chapel that was on the cover art of their EP, I believe?
This was going to be their debut.
Okay. They burned down that chapel, right?
They were planning
allegedly?
on it. No, they were planning on it.
Okay.
That was the Nidaros Cathedral. So they were planning to, when the album was released, to blow it up.
Okay.
And the album is like a silhouette of it in like purple. I'm colorblind, so if it's not purple, don't you? But it's just like a silhouette of it. Like you can tell it's that.
Yeah.
But they did burn down the Holmenkollen Church in Oslo, I believe it was.
Also coinciding with the release of their debut album?
No, that was just to do it.
Oh. Oh, wow. So that's just like, yeah, got some gasoline, got some matches. Let's go burn down the church.
No, yeah, that like this guy Varg Vikernes was kind of like that's what black metal's kind of famous for. Like, you know what I mean? Is like church burnings and all that type of stuff. This band is the reason for that. Varg Vikernes is the reason for that.
So if Varg wasn't out there burning churches down,
I mean, there might have been some from like a lot of these other people are crazy, and he had a bunch of other people help him in places. But like these are the guys that like spearheaded that whole thing out of the shop in Oslo.
Okay. It's good to know that these guys didn't half-ass anything. As terrible as they were, like, they were going to do something. They were full committed, which is fucking scary.
Yeah, it's actually very, very scary. On August 10th, 1993, Varg and Thorn's guitarist, Snor Blackthorn Rouge, traveled from Bergen to Euronymous' apartment in Oslo to meet about a contract dispute. Varg claims that he only intended to hand Euronymous a signed contract and tell him to fuck off, and Euronymous was planning to ambush him in the meeting with a taser to kidnap and torture Varg while filming the whole thing. Either way, a confrontation occurred, which resulted in Euronymous' death, who was reportedly found with 23 stab wounds, 2 to the head, 5 to the neck, and 16 to the back.
I wonder how bad was this dispute that they were going over to negotiate, you know, that it resulted, or how much you hate Euronymous to like stab him 23 times, 16 to the back, 2 to the head, 2 to the chest and whatnot. Like,
I tend to believe Varg when he says that Euronymous attacked him first.
Right.
Just because Euronymous' whole backstory of just being like this group was like members were always changing, things like that were always happening, and like he was kind of like the head guy, and usually in that type of situation, especially in like bands, it's usually because that guy's kind of a dick.
Okay.
At the very least, this guy's also fucking insane, like certifiably, but so I tend to believe him that he was attacked, but
well, Varg was just gonna basically sign a contract and tell him to fuck off, and then his plan was to get the fuck out there, right? That's what it seems like.
Well, that's what he says. He is also a shady character, so you don't 100% know. But like I said, I tend to believe him just because I feel like if he was going to murder him, like he had gotten away with church burnings. Like, yeah, the cops were on him, but that was just from the magnitude of the stuff he was doing. Like the fact that he didn't get caught there, like he must have had some idea as far as like planning, or you know what I'm saying? I feel like if he went over there to murder him, it wouldn't have been in such a blatant and obvious fashion.
Right. He would have made it look like a quote unquote accident.
Not even that, but just less noticeable. Like at least like, because apparently it happened like in the hallway of the apartment building. Like it's like it's not something that was well thought through.
Right. Gotcha.
Varg was arrested within days and sentenced to the max sentence allowed in Norway of 21 years in prison for the murder and his role in the string of church burnings. Roosh was sentenced to 8 years as an accomplice to the murder. With the death of their leader Euronymous, Mayhem would dissolve. Necro Butcher would have this to say of the murder. Okay, I can tell it now, because I've been holding it in for many years, but actually I was on my way down to killing myself. And when it happened, I saw the morning paper, thinking, fuck, I gotta get home to my place and get out all the weapons and drugs and shit I had in my house, because they're coming to my house, because I'm probably going to be the #1 suspect for this. But little did I know that the Norwegian police already knew that Count Grishnak was going down also to kill him, because they bugged his phone, and he actually talked about the killing before he went to Bergen, so the cops already knew he was coming. So they probably were thinking to themselves, we didn't nail this guy for the church burnings, so let's nail him for murder. And get rid of this fucking guy in Oslo at the same time. So that's basically what happened. Necro Butcher, Hellhammer, and original session vocalist Maniac would reform the band a year later after the release of the debut album, which featured Euronymous on guitar, alongside his murderer Varg on bass. The album was delayed as the family of Euronymous petitioned the band to re-record Varg's bass parts, but were ultimately unsuccessful. They still play and record music, albeit with a few more lineup changes, to this day, with their last release being 2019's Damon. Varg served 15 of his 21 years and was released on May 22nd, 2009.
It's kind of crazy that he only served 15 out of 21 years?
Yeah.
Like, that's an extreme, brutal murder. You know, like he gets sentenced to 21 years and then only ends up serving like 15. It's like, kind of like, wow.
First of all, you just gotta kind of understand, like, the legal systems in, like, Europe are different than here. Like, not like that for-profit bullshit where they're trying to keep you in. Like, it's more of a focus on rehabilitating people.
Right.
So, if they believe you've been rehabilitated, again, I never experienced it, so I don't know per se, but this is from what I've read. Like, if they feel you have rehabilitated, like maybe calm down, maybe whatever, it's easier to get parole.
Right.
Se. You know what I mean? You just got to kind of show that like you're not crazy, I guess.
Guess he didn't do a good job of it.
He was arrested again at his home in Corretza, France, after a police raid found a stockpile of weapons and ammunitions thought to be in preparation for a terrorist attack. However, police found no evidence of any specific targets, and his wife had obtained permits for said weapons, so he was released without charges. They did, however, charge him for inciting racial violence, a crime in France, based on his blog, The Thulian Perspective, which features various anti-Semitic and Islamophobic rants. He was sentenced to 6 months probation and a fine of 8,000 euros. He continued releasing music as Birdsum, until finally retiring the name after the 2020 album, Thulian Mysteries. What's your initial reaction, I guess, to everything you just learned?
Damn. Like, holy shit. Like, you know, you hear about, like, bands and you hear, like, you know, oh, yeah, there's going to be some, like, death, you know, maybe some suicide. No, this just, like, blows that shit out the water. Just like when you think it could not get any wilder, and not even wilder in the sense of, like, fun time partying.
Not the normal Wilder that comes with a music group.
Yeah, like these guys were just like, oh, we're just gonna do this thing that's totally like horrible, and seems like they legit just did not give a shit. Like They were like, yep, you know what? Today's a good day to burn down a church. We're going to burn down a church. Or like, oh, hey, like, let's get more publicity and blow up the cathedral that we used in our debut album cover. Like, holy shit.
See, they were super like anti-religion, so that's what kind of led to that. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I try not to judge people, but like blah 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 blah. But when I find out a person's like really into black metal, I pretty much judge them because
it seems like there's a special kind of person that's like into black metal, and
I mean like people who are like black metal people, not someone who's like, oh, I have this one song I like that's black metal, but like the people who like focus in on that,
like the people that are like, oh, this band is fucking amazing. Like, I've been following them ever since they got their start. I have all their LPs, EPs. I even got the underground project that they did with like another black metal group or something.
But yeah, it just seems black metal as a whole just seems to like attract sociopaths, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can totally see that. Because like with anything, you're a fan of a band, you're like, oh, hey, let me learn a little bit about this band. And, if you're still a fan after being like, oh, yeah, like, I don't like religion either. All right, cool. Yeah, let's like, you burn down a church. That's fucking genius. Like, maybe I should burn down a church. Like, I feel like if you end up becoming a fan, like, it maybe pushes you over the edge to like carry out some of these like heinous acts.
Yeah, because if you let these people become your heroes. Like,
right.
And it's just absolutely insane.
Right.
All right. Thanks for stopping in, Dev.
Yeah, no worries.
Really appreciate it. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the people?
Make sure you guys go out, click like, subscribe to my man's new show, Murder Music.
This guy.
Look at that.
Look at him.
Also, if you're a fan of us and just want to see a couple knuckleheads talk about sports and shit, check out our podcast, Basement Boys Podcast.
Double promotion. That's all we do here, baby.
I might be a whore, but I don't care.
All right, guys, and there you have it. Like I said from the beginning, just a crazy, crazy episode. And the craziest part is, this guy, Varg Vikernes, he's still out there. Thanks for checking out the show. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button just to get all the murder music content. Leave a comment down below about what other stories we should check out. And make sure you stop back here next week for an all-new episode. Thanks, guys.